His wings hung so low that they dragged on the ground. He walked past the tower and out of the city. He walked through the fields and thought,
My, this is pretty. The far lily bushes all blooming in yellow, and thimble plants squirting snowberry jello. I might like it here,
said the small Snoodle fellow. Then, feeling some warmth coming back to his chest, he thought he would sit for a moment and rest. But try as he might to sit down with grace, the weight on his back knocked him flat on his face.
Ha! That's a hoot!
Said a voice from behind. A farmer stood up with a thimble vine.
Why, you need a picture, my Snoodleberg bud, lest you forget how you look in the mud.
And so in an instant the picture was done and placed in his backpack, which now weighed a ton. The poor Snoodle struggled. He wobbled, he groaned. He stood to his feet and he said with a moan,
Is there anywhere I can be truly alone?
Just then overhead flew two red-snooted finches, winging their way toward the peak of Mount Ginches.
I see,
said the Snoodle.
Then that's what I'll do. The home for those finches will be my home too.
So painfully, struggling under his pack, the small Snoodle inched up the big mountain's back. He crawled over boulders in rain and in lightning. He trudged on, though the journey was frightening. Till finally on Sunday, at 2:15, he spied all the meadows of Gilda Manju and realized he was on top of Mount Ginches, alone with the wind and his thoughts and the finches. He thought of the Snoodles. He thought of the tower. He thought of the bell that would chime on the hour. He thought of his pack and his very long walk. He thought it so loudly, he heard his thoughts.
Start your epic egg hunt with new Rainbow Corn's Wild Heart Surprise. There's 10 totally wild
Thoughts talk.
Hello.
Said his thoughts.
You've made quite a climb.
That voice
He remarked.
doesn't sound much like mine.
Then he turned and he noticed he wasn't alone, for a man stood behind, near a cave in the stone. He looked like a Snoodle, though quite a bit bigger.
Maybe a giant.
The small Snoodle figured.
I'm going.
The Snoodle boy said with a huff.
And don't paint a picture, I've got quite enough.
But first, come inside.
The man said.
Have some tea. I'm so very pleased that you're visiting me.
The Snoodle boy stopped, though he'd only gone inches, and stared at the stranger he'd found on Mount Ginches. He didn't seem angry. In fact, he looked kind. The poor little boy was confused.
Are you blind? I'm puny. I'm silly. I'm not all that smart. I can't use my wings and I'm no good at art.
The stranger leaned down with a pain in his heart.
Who told you these things?
He asked.
How do you know?
These pictures I have in my pack tell me so.
The small Snoodle sniffled and started to go.